Hello and welcome back. Before I begin, I'd like to give a big thank you to Read Write Read for becoming my latest subscriber. Thank you so much, I really appreciate your taking the time. And now, on with the haul. This is going to be another haul from the Book Thing of Baltimore, a wonderful nonprofit that gives out free books every weekend and also accepts donations of any unwanted books you may have. Now, at the beginnings of most of my hauls, I usually say something like, oh, I tried so hard to be abstemious, I really tried to be good, and it all, collapsed. Well, this time, honestly, I wasn't even trying. For whatever reason, I was just in this mood, and I went in there like a hungry dinosaur, just rawr, I want books. So this is the result. First, I got The Story of Siegfried by James Baldwin, illustrated by Peter Hurd. This is I assume it's out of print now, but a former entry in the Scrivener Illustrated Classics series, which I collected when I was a kid. And I am just guessing that this is not the same James Baldwin who wrote Giovanni's Room and Go Tell It on the Mountain, but I could be wrong. Who knows? That would be pretty cool. This is about the great Germanic legendary hero. And then I got this book, The Crazy Ladies by Joyce Elbert. This is a novel from, I didn't check the publication date, but I'm guessing it's late 60s or maybe 70s. And I read something about it recently. I cannot for the life of me remember where, but someone who I think read it as a teenager and was very shocked by it or something like that just made it sound kind of interesting. And I looked at the flap and that made it sound interesting as well, so I figured I'd give it a shot, although it is rather large. This is going to be a bit of a time investment, but oh well. Then I got Coffee, Tea, or Me, The Uninhibited Memoirs of Two Airline Stewardesses, which is kind of a retro classic. I'm sure I'm going to be shocked and appalled when I read it, but I decided to give it a look. And then Dreaming, Hard Luck and Good Times in America by Carolyn C. C is one of the main reviewers for the Washington Post, or one of the main book reviewers. And I really enjoy her reviews, even if sometimes she reviews things that I really have no interest in reading. I think she's a really good writer, and I like hearing what she has to say. She's also a novelist, and I read one of her novels, which, oh my gosh, I'm completely, Golden Days, that's what it was called. And it was one of those novels that had some really interesting aspects to it, but wasn't quite, I don't know, it didn't quite come together as a whole for me, but it was still really interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading anything else she has to write. And then I got Lost Japan by Alex Carr. This was apparently originally written in Japanese, and this is just about this guy's experiences living in Japan. And I got Apologies to the Iroquois by Edmund Wilson. Wilson is a famous American man of letters, and this is, I believe, his book about the Iroquois Nation, and I'm not sure if he visited them himself or he just read a lot of anthropological documents, but I figured I'd give it a try. It sounded pretty interesting. And then I got Sent for You Yesterday, a novel by John Edgar Wideman. And How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents by Julia Alvarez. The Joke's Over, Ralph Steadman on Hunter S. Thompson. This is written by Ralph Steadman, who did the illustrations for a lot of Hunter Thompson's books. I'm not really that big a Hunter Thompson fan. I read one of his books, which was Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail in 1972, and I thought it was okay. I wasn't crazy about it. I have a couple of his other books, but I haven't read them yet. But I remember reading about this when it first came out and just thinking it sounded like an absolute hoot, so I decided to give it a try. Maybe Thompson is one of those people who's more interesting to read about than to read his actual books. Oh, and this was my big find. I'm so excited to find this. This is SDS by Kirkpatrick Sale. And this is supposedly a monumental work on the Students for Democratic Society, which is one of the revolutionary American groups that came about in the chaos of the 1960s. And this is supposedly the book on SDS. And I've heard that it is just incredibly hard to find, and that if you want to find it online, it's like $100 or something. But I never really looked for it online because I have this motto that all things in their time come to the book thing. And just, if you really want something, you may wait years for it, but eventually it will show up. And this finally showed up. I'm so, so, so excited. And then I got this novel, A Change of Gods by Neil Oxenhandler. This is just one of those books that for some reason jumped out at me, and it sounds pretty good. It's about the issues of intermarriage between a Jewish man and a Christian woman. It just sounded like an interesting story. And then I got American Theocracy, The Peril and Politics of Radical Religion, Oil, and Borrowed Money in the 21st Century by Kevin Phillips. And I ordinarily don't really read sort of polemical political books. I just feel like the authors have usually manipulated the statistics and facts to suit whatever it is they want to say, and so what's really the point of reading it? But I saw Kevin Phillips interviewed on television a couple of years ago, and he sounded pretty interesting and smart, so I figured I would at least give him a try. Then I got Chronicle of Youth by Vera Brittain. Vera Brittain's most famous book is Testament of Youth, which is her memoir of her experiences during World War I. And this apparently is the diary she kept during World War I, which I guess formed the basis for Testament of Youth. And then I got another memoir, An Orphan in History, One Man's Triumphant Search for His Roots by Paul Cohen. And Puritan Village, The Formation of a New England Town by Sumner Chilton Powell. I'm really interested in the Puritans, and I'm not sure if this is going to be a little too pop history for me, but I figured, why not? And I got Station Life in New Zealand by Lady Barker. This is a memoir, and which was written in the 19th century. And I believe I've mentioned this before, but I'm a big fan of, for some reason, female writers from the Antipodes, from Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania. I don't know why, there's just something about their work that really speaks to me, so I figured I'd give this a try. Then I got Hinduism, The World's Oldest Faith by K.M. Sen. This is a Pelican nonfiction. And Gods Go Begging by Alfredo Vea. This one, honestly, I just got because it is one of these Plume contemporary fiction books, which tend to be really good, and I figured I should just give it a shot. And then I got We Took to the Woods by Louise Dickinson Rich. This is a Back to the Land memoir. And Novelty, 4 Stories by John Crowley. So excited to find this because I'm currently making my way through John Crowley's Egypt cycle. And if you're looking that up, that's Egypt spelled A-E-G-Y-P-T. And I've read the first 2, and somehow it's weird because nothing much happens in them. But there's just something about his writing and the ideas he explores that really speaks to me. So I'm really enjoying those, and I'm excited to find something else of his. And then I got A Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. I had read one of Vinge's earlier books, or not earlier than this. I think it's actually one of his more recent books called Rainbow's End, which I thought the ideas were really cool, and I thought it started out really well, and then the plot got a little busy for me. But I definitely want to give him another try, and this is supposed to be one of his best. And then I got Whatever Happened to Baby Jane by Henry Farrell. I've seen the classic film with Bette Davis and Joan Crawford and figured I might as well give the book a try. And a memoir, Sad Nun at Synanon by Barbara Leslie Austin. This is a memoir of the authors working in the rehab center Synanon, which apparently took a turn for the very weird, and I think there was even a murder there or something, but I assume this is before all that happened. And then Hopscotch, a novel by Brian Garfield. This is not to be confused with the sort of arty novel by Julio Cortázar, which is also called Hopscotch, but this one had a really entertaining film with Walter Matthau and Glenda Jackson made of it, and I really liked that, so I'm curious to read the book. And then this is another another novel that I've seen the film and would like to read the book. This is Tunes of Glory by James Kennaway. And then I got The Book of Lies by Felice Picano. And Every Man a King, the autobiography of Huey P. Long, who's the famous American demagogue. And Carnival, science fiction novel by Elizabeth Bear. Waves, a collection of stories by Bei Dao. This is a censored collection of, or a collection of Chinese stories about the Cultural Revolution that was censored by the Chinese government when it first appeared. And I got En Attendant Godot, or Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, because although Beckett was Irish, he originally wrote this in French. And really excited to find this. This is Nana by Zola, which is one of the Zola novels I've really been wanting to track down. And let's see what else I got. I got The French Lieutenant's Woman by John Fowles. Actually, this is yet another one of these things I've seen the film of, and I was not crazy about the film, but I just read another John Fowles novel called The Collector, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, and so now I want to read everything else he's ever written, and so I picked this one up. And I got A Bend in the River by V.S. Naipaul. And another random novel that I thought looked kind of good, Forever Panting by Peter de Vries. And The Wandering Fire by Guy Gabriel Kay. The Collected Works of Jane Bowles, My Sister's Hand in Mine. And another Fowles novel, Daniel Martin. And another one that I've seen the film version of, Castle Keep by William Eastlake. And Mortal Engines by Stanislav Lem, science fiction novel. And Seneca's Oedipus, adapted by Ted Hughes. And Ted Hughes is one of my favorite poets, and I love classical drama, so this is just a win-win. And Taliesin, another novel in Stephen R. Lawhead's Arthur Saga. And The Moonflower Vine by Jetta Carlton. The Unicorn by Iris Murdoch. I just read Murdoch's first novel, Under the Net, and I thought it was, parts of it were really cool and had really interesting ideas, and then I felt like it kind of took a turn for the lightweight and didn't quite live up to its potential, but I'm definitely eager to read more of her stuff. And let's see. Then I got Les Guerriers by Monique Wittig, who's a famous French feminist writer and theorist. And last but not least, I got The Passionate Vegetarian by Crescent Dragon Wagon. I've been a vegetarian ever since I was a little kid, and I'm always looking for exciting new recipes, and this, at least from the cover, certainly looks exciting. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.